Hi, and welcome to the webisode Mr. Wilson Teaches 2-Point Perspective Cityscapes. To begin your cityscape, you have to start by putting down some basics that you're going to be using on every portion. The first part is to put in your horizon line. So where you take your ruler, and you're going to make a line that goes straight across. And horizon line is just a fancy word for where the sky meets the land, or in most cases the water, because as we know the earth is more water than land. You can also have artificial for horizon lines, so let's say this is where the wall is meeting the ground, or this is where the sky is meeting the hills. So anything where it's coming down from the sky and meeting the land. And usually for each vanishing point I start with just a regular inch on each side. And this will give you a nice space for what you want your final product to look like. So every time you do a cityscape like this, it's all set up the same. Vanishing line, or excuse me, vanishing point with your horizon line. To begin your first building, what I do is I set my ruler straight up and down, so try to make it as parallel with the sides of the paper as you can. And I usually start with about a 3-inch line, and that's a good size to begin with. And it doesn't have to be directly centered, as long as it's straight up and down. And for this, you're going to be connecting your vanishing point to the edge of the line. And what we're creating right now is the sidewalk. See the line. You notice I'm pushing down hard because I know I'm going to keep that. For the next lines, you're going to draw very, very softly. So every time you make a line, your next step is to make a V. So always go step 1 line, step 2, make a V. And this gives you the top of your building. And after the V, always comes the sides. And like I say before, if you trace the ruler, you're going to be guaranteed to get parallel lines because they're both going the same way. And sometimes if you want one to be a little bigger, I'll take my ruler, slide it over at the same rate, and when you slide it like that, it's going to stay parallel but give you a bigger wall. So just go step 1, the line, step 2, make the V, step 3, make your sides. And the next part can get pretty tricky. This is called the crisscross. And to make a roof, you have to take the points, so this is where the top of the line meets, which are called the converging lines, or orthogonal lines, and you're going to take where the side matches up, and you're going to crisscross. So you're going to be using this vanishing point. So if I'm using my right side, it goes to the left vanishing point. Remember, draw lightly, and same thing, left side of the building, that means I have to use my right vanishing point. And what you should be visually able to see is that I just made the roof that's in perspective. And this is where the erasing comes in. So then I'm going to erase. So step 1 is the line. Step 2 is my V. Step 3 is going to be the sides. Step 4, crisscross. Step 5, erase. And that's how you make each of the buildings. And I'll show you a couple of these on the side too. So if I want another building right next to it, and let's say I'm going to make this one a tall skyscraper. So I start with the line. Remember, after the line comes the V. I'm going to lightly draw on the tops. After the V comes the sides. So remember, you can trace the ruler, or you can spread it out, as long as it's still up and down. And you'll notice when you get to this side, we have a problem. So before, my line can go right to the sidewalk. Now that I have another building there, I need to know that when I hit that other building, it stops. And this is a technique artists use to show perspective a lot of times too. When you overlap an object, that means that object is in front of the other one. So this is actually going to help with your perspective. And then after the sides comes the converging lines that you crisscross. Crisscross. And step 5 is erase. And for the rest of these buildings, you're going to have to add a 6th step, and that is making the alleyway. So when you're dealing with a corner, like the very first building, you'll notice that you already have both bottom parts of the side, but right here we have a space. And to do this correctly, you're going to start with the point there. You're going to line this up with the vanishing point, and just slide it through. And it should look like you can actually walk right through the alleyway if I were a small person. And let's do a quick one over here. I'll try to get 3 buildings down. So the V. And you'll notice now that I've showed you a few times, I'm not going to draw my line all the way to the vanishing point because I know I'm just going to erase it. So it's really a waste of both our times. So when you get good at this in your mind, you can sort of think, well, I know I'm going to erase that line, and I know I'm going to erase that line, so why bother drawing it? And this is, if you're skilled enough, you can pull that off. If you're still a little confused about it, I would suggest making the lines. So I've got 3 buildings now, and I'm going to show you how to do the sidewalk. And the sidewalk is easy. You just put a dot down here right below your first corner. And then you're going to connect from the dot up to your vanishing point. So go from dot to vanishing point. And you do the same thing for your street. And because this is in perspective, I want my street to go off the page. So it looks like you're standing right in the intersection looking at this city. And if you'd like to put in, you know, the dotted line that a normal street would have, just get smaller as you go up. And I'm going to make this same thing. Street come down, do a little dotted line. So it should look like the street is coming right at you. The next step is to work on the doors. And doors are nothing more than just 2 parallel lines and then 1 vanishing point converging line. And you'll notice I picked this vanishing point, and that's because my door is on this side of the building. If I were to do a door, let's say on this side of the building, so I'm going to do a double wide door, so that means I'm taking 3 lines. And because this is on the left side of my building, I use the left vanishing point. Close it off, erase the extra. And windows work the same way. I'm going to do 2 parallel lines, left side, left vanishing point. Only you have to close off the bottom as well. So you do a bottom and the top. And you could do any size windows. Let's say I want to make this one a big billboard on top of a building, maybe an advertisement. Vanishing point, connect them, erase the extra. Oh, I forgot my alleyway right here. I better fix that before I forget. That's another alleyway to push through. You can also make what I call inverted rooftops. And to do an inverted rooftop, you start with the corner, make a little line that goes down, and you're going to line it up with a vanishing point, and instead of making a line that goes all the way, you're just going to pull it down. Same thing here. Start here, pull it down. And you can do this on any size roof, as long as you're using the vanishing point. Start, line up the dots, pull it down. And what's nice about these is, especially if you're doing a city, it shows that someone could actually go out on this roof. Let's say you don't have a backyard and all you have is your sunroof. You can go out there and hang out. You can also add on other buildings. And this is one of the more advanced things when you're adding a building on top of a building. So let's say I'm going to make this into, I guess, an elevator shaft or maybe a roof access. You're going to start by making the bottom. Remember, you always make the V. And remember, you're going to erase a lot, so why bother going all the way? Then you make your sides. So it goes sides after the V, and then after the sides always comes the crisscross. And then you erase all the extra. And then you're going to erase everything on the inside because this is a solid building. And these especially look nice if you add a door on top of these too. So it looks like someone can actually walk out onto the roof. So that's a roof access. And it looks a little silly having this big of a roof access on such a tiny building. But the idea is there more or less on what it should look like. And usually when I do different things like an apartment complex like this, I'll do a set of windows. And to do a set of windows, you just draw multiple lines. And then you're going to skip every other. That's going to give you 2 sets of windows. So now that means that they're on the same floor. So it could be an apartment building that maybe has maybe a bedroom and a living room access. But you're able to do a lot of things with it. And once you get comfortable with the perspective, you can start adding different things like porches, awnings, different types of roofs and tunnels. And maybe I should show you a tunnel. That one's quick and simple. So let's say there's your line. Remember, after the line comes the V. And I'm not going to go all the way because I know I'm going to erase it. And this one's going to be a really long building. Crisscross. And the closer you get to the vanishing point, it's going to begin to be smaller roofs. And a lot of people freak out thinking they're not close enough. But the closer you are to it, less of a roof you have. So to do a tunnel, You start by doing your parallel lines, same way you did the door before. Left side, left vanishing point. And to make a tunnel, you're going to treat this like an alleyway corner. So alleyway to vanishing point. And if you did it correctly, it should look like someone could take their car, drive down the street, and park right into here. And that's a nice way to make things like a garage, if you want to have this lead to somewhere else. For buildings in the background, all you have to do is align, do your V. So same process as before, make the sides. And notice I stopped because there's a building, stop because there's a building. Do your crisscross, crisscross, and then you erase all the extra. And it is possible to have your buildings break the surface or go past the vanishing point. So let's say I want a tall building to come in the back here. Now what's different about this one is it's no longer a V. To make a V, it has to be below the horizon line. When you work on something above the horizon line, it's going to be the opposite of a V. So it's going to be curving down instead. So you won't actually see the roof on this. All you'll see is the side of the building. So these are nice to sort of break up the space a little, especially if you're doing like a giant city or a thriving metropolis. You can see how these buildings add up quick. So just in those couple minutes, I've already added on quite a few buildings, and you can really jam them all in here and make it look like, you know, an overwhelming city. So there's lots of different effects you can do. If you want to add actual lines in your sidewalk, you can use the vanishing point to add in. Notice I'm just rotating the ruler, keeping it on that vanishing point. This is going to ensure that it all looks right. Then for the opposite side, opposite vanishing point. Just go down the sidewalk. And it takes forever, but it really does make it look quite a bit better if you add in this perspective sidewalk. And of course, once you finish the building, you can start your theme. So you can turn it into, you know, Old West. Want to do like a zombie land. You can make it a futuristic city. You can make it a shanty town. There's lots of different options once you get these basics. So remember, step 1, line. Step 2, V. Step 3, your sides. Step 4, crisscross. Step 5, erase. And step 6, you're going to add the alleyway. And then you're going to add on all those additions. So best of luck.